As you may recall, as you began your preparations for this trial, we refer to the fact that we have talked at great length about civilization and what it means to be civilized or not civilized. Based on all of our study of that concept, the charges today are as follows: that Chinggis Khan and his Mongol descendants, including his grandson Kublai, were uncivilized rulers in their times. Order in the court, please. Mr. Prosecutor, please begin with your questioning of Pope Innocent.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, Pope Innocent, you tried to set an agreement with Mr. Chinggis Khan and the Mongols?
Yes, sir.
What was the deal?
I wrote him a letter and told him that if he could stop expanding to Europe and if he could spare the lives of many Christians,
Alas, why didn't you want them to go inside Europe?
because they were this massive force that was killing everybody in their way, and we didn't want to become part of that, and also because Europe is Christian and I'm the leader of Europe, so I didn't want them to come into my lands.
Order, please.
Mr. Caliph, Mongols arrived in your enormous fortified city in February 1258. You, as the leader of the city, decided to resist to the Mongols?
Well, it happens to be that I needed the Mongols. I had an enemy in Persia who betrayed me and got my army out of my Persian cities. And then his little son decided to start killing my soldiers. So I recruited to Chinggis Khan and all his army so that he could stop them, and he did.
I have information about that in the year, Mongols sieged your city. Am I right?
Yes, sir. After defeating my enemy, I found out that Chinggis Khan was actually more trouble for me than I thought he was gonna be. So my agreement with him stopped, and he continued with his forces throughout the entire time.
Okay. During the siege, how were the conditions in your city?
Of course, they were terrible. The army came in and just took control of my cities and wanted to establish Mongol as the only culture there was, but we were Muslims, so we had to resist, but they were so strong that ultimately they conquered us.
I had a very comforting journey.
So, did you ever meet Mr. Khan or any of his descendants?
I did indeed.
How was your
Yeah.
experience?
We had a very close relationship. I developed some administrative charges for his empire. I traveled along Central Asia, a little bit of Southern Asia, and doing errands and tasks for the empire. And we have a very close relationship. He really trusted me, and I trusted him back.
Did you encounter any security problems while traveling in or out of the empire?
No way, not a chance. I mean, during Kublai's Khan, we reigned. It was this period of peace and tranquility, and it was paradise.
And in these trips you made from and to the said empire, what is your opinion on the living conditions of the people you saw, by the villages you visited?
Well, I visited several cities, and I I have read in my accounts of those cities. Perhaps if you read my book, I could give more detail. And I must highlight like the majestic, like the majestic buildings and cities these Mongols have built. They have a fabulous infrastructure. The society is perfectly stable. There is equality among between men and women. I mean, it's perfect. It's perfect order. Laws are unbreakable, and there's no problem at all.
So what is your general opinion on Mr. Khan and his descendants?
I must say they're certainly civilized. To the extent they can be certainly more civilized than Europeans.
Thank you very much, Mr. Polo. Mr. Defense Attorney, you may proceed.
Well, I want to begin with this question. And what have you heard about Mr. Khan?
Well, I heard that he's a great Khan. He established a new dynasty called the Yuan dynasty, from which the peasants got really beneficiated. Yeah, that's cool.
Do you think do you think they have been uncivilized in any way?
No, I think that on the contrary, they have been really civilized. They tried to organize like the social structure of China while they reigned. They created a really good comparative rural organization in benefits of the economy of the peasants. And no, I don't think they're civilized.
So you prefer the government that is imposed to you now than it was before? Like the Khan rule instead of the government that was
Yeah.
before?
Well, one thing that really changed was that before we had to anticipate like for high taxes anytime the ruler wanted, but now we had like a clear taxation like organization that we knew how much taxes we would have to pay, and that's what we did.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Defense Attorney, no. Thank you, Chinese President, you may step down.